he's got Marshal's nose, she whispered, not to me, to her mother. I was standing 3 feet away, holding the hospital tray of apple juice and crushed ice, when I heard it, soft, like something said out of habit, like something she'd said before. Her mother went rigid, then recovered with speed I can only describe as rehearsed. She meant Martin, she said quickly, smiling too widely. Her cousin, remember? From the wedding? She laughed like we were all in on some private joke, elbowing Monica gently. But Monica's face was already flushed, eyes darting, lips parted like she hadn't expected to say that name aloud, or be heard. I smiled, not a big one, not angry, not confused, just the kind of smile that buys you silence when your entire chest is filled with broken glass. Oh, right, I said, Martin, and I watched as the tension left her shoulders. That was the moment I knew. Whatever this was, it was real. If it hadn't been, she would have joked about it, laughed it off, said I was hearing things, that I was paranoid. But she didn't. She went quiet and grateful. She accepted the cover. That night, while she slept, curled up next to the baby she swore had my ears, I logged into my health portal and ordered a paternity test. The discreet kind. Saliva-based, swabs. Comes in a plain box, no branding. I paid extra for expedited shipping and next day results. I stared at the order confirmation for 10 solid minutes. Not because I doubted what I'd heard, because I didn't. Let me back up. I'm not the paranoid type. I'm the if the light on the dashboard's not blinking, drive the car type. Simple, steady. I never checked her phone, never doubted her work trips, never questioned why she suddenly took an interest in yoga retreats or started wearing lipstick to pick up groceries. I was proud of her, proud of us. We had made it through IVF, through nights of crying, through that horrible scare at 28 weeks. This baby, this tiny human wrapped in a pastel hospital blanket, was supposed to be the ribbon on everything. Then she said his name. Not by mistake, not in a dream, not as a joke, just Marshal. And suddenly the room tilted. I didn't confront her. That would have given her power. No, I did what every stable man does when the earth underneath him starts to hum. I started recording it all in my head, replaying the moment, the hesitation, the recovery, her mother's too smooth pivot. This wasn't just a slip. This was a leak in the hull. And before this ship sank, I wanted to make sure I had a lifeboat built. If you're listening to this and not subscribed, do it now. Seriously. Over 97% of you are following this story without clicking subscribe. It takes 1 second but helps the team keep going more than you know. Anyway, where were we? Right, the test. The next morning, I swabbed the inside of my cheek, then carefully swabbed the baby's, while Monica was in the shower humming along to some podcast about postpartum recovery and reclaiming your power. She had no idea I was reclaiming mine. I mailed the samples from a box across town under a different name. It was surprisingly easy. No questions asked. People think the hard part is logistics. It's not. It's acting normal when you're sure everything around you is a lie. I made her coffee. I changed diapers. I let her rest. I even let her cry into my chest that night, saying motherhood was harder than she expected. I didn't flinch, because I wanted to see what kind of actress she really was. The test would arrive in 2 days, but something else would arrive first, something I didn't plan for, and it would confirm everything, not with a swab, but with a screen. The first message came in while I was brushing my teeth. 7:03 a.m. from Monica. Hey, did you get something in the mail? That's all it said. Not good morning. Not how's your back. She'd been asking that since the hospital stay, ever since I pulled something lifting the bassinet into the car. Just that one line, 7 words that came with the weight of 7 years of pretending. I didn't answer. By 7:10, she'd sent another. Can we talk? Then, I'm freaking out. I think I know what you did. I let the toothbrush fall into the sink. My mouth tasted like mint and metal. By 7:18, she was calling. I silenced the phone, no voicemail. Then the text started to stack, rapid, frantic, as if her fingers couldn't type as fast as her guilt was rising. It's not what you think. I didn't mean for this to happen. Just tell me what you saw. Please. I hadn't told her a damn thing. Not about the test, not about the shipping, not about the careful timing of the drop-off or the burner email I used to receive the results. But she knew, which meant she wasn't just afraid of what I might find. She was afraid because she already knew what I would. I sat down at the table, opened my laptop, and refreshed the email. Still nothing. She texted again. This time the message was longer. Marshall doesn't even live here anymore. It was a mistake, a dumb old mistake. We weren't even in a good place back then. Please don't do anything stupid. You're a great dad. You're the one who stayed. The one who stayed. Not the one who fathered. Not the one she wanted. Just the one who stuck around after the party ended and cleaned up the confetti. At 9:41 a.m., the email arrived. Subject line: Results. Enclosed. Paternity analysis confidential. I stared at it for a full minute before clicking. There was no need to scroll. Right at the top, in bold black text: Probability of paternity. Percent. It wasn't ambiguous. It wasn't low probability or unlikely or inconclusive. It was zero, like the air in my lungs, like the trust I once had. I stared at that screen and felt nothing. No screaming, no table flipping, no cinematic flashbacks, just silence. The kind of silence that settles when something breaks beyond repair. I closed the lid, got up, poured myself a glass of water, watched a squirrel outside twitch its tail, dart across the fence. Somewhere down the hall, the baby cried. Monica picked him up, cooing loudly, performed motherhood like she thought I needed to hear it, said all the right phrases in the right tone. Warm, loving, scripted. She didn't know I already had the final line. I walked past her in the hallway. She looked up. "You okay?" she asked, smiling. "Yeah," I said. "Just dehydrated." She nodded, relieved, like we were fine, like nothing had cracked open. Her phone buzzed again in her pocket, probably a group chat or one of those stupid postpartum fitness apps she never actually opened. I watched her thumb it, then tuck it away. She didn't know I knew. And I wasn't about to tell her. Not yet. Let her feel the ground still beneath her feet. Let her perform. Let her think the show was still going. Because the thing about shows, they end. And the curtain doesn't always fall softly. There's a kind of pain that doesn't roar. It calculates. It builds spreadsheets. It scans receipts. It files folders labeled for later. It's not the cinematic heartbreak where you scream in the rain or throw plates. It's quieter, smarter, and far more dangerous. At 2:13 a.m., I packed a bag. One pair of jeans, 2 shirts, socks, toothbrush, laptop, the small black folder with the test results printed in duplicate. I tucked it under my clothes like contraband. The house was still. Monica had finally fallen asleep with her foot against the baby monitor, breathing in that shallow way she does when she's overthinking something in her dreams. I didn't look at her. I just grabbed a sticky note, wrote 3 words, "Needed some air," and stuck it to the fridge, right next to the reminder she'd set for pediatric vitamins. It felt appropriate, right between what was real and what she was pretending to care about. By 2:41 a.m., I was checking into an extended stay off Route 7, the kind of place where no one asks questions if you pay cash and decline housekeeping. The woman at the front desk barely looked up when I gave her a burner email for receipts. She handed me a key card and said, "3rd floor's quieter." Perfect. Room 318 smelled like antiseptic and forgotten dinners, the kind of neutral you can disappear into. I opened the laptop, connected to the hotel Wi-Fi, fired up the encrypted folder I'd set up earlier that year when we were applying for life insurance and I was paranoid about identity theft. Funny how I thought that was the threat. I started with the basics, pulled all recent financials, moved a chunk of savings into a new account I'd opened 6 months ago, originally earmarked for baby emergencies. Ironic. I scanned documents, birth certificates, our marriage license, shared utility bills, anything that could serve as a breadcrumb in what I knew would become a very meticulous legal trail. Then I wrote the affidavit. Dry, factual, cold. I stated the date of the birth, the name of the child, the fact that I had ordered a private paternity test, the exact date and time it was administered, the results, 0.00%, the fact that I had not been informed of any alternative paternity possibility before or during the pregnancy, the psychological distress incurred. I didn't write about the way her face looked when she told her mother he looked like Marshall. I didn't write about the fact that I held that baby and whispered promises to him, because courtrooms don't care about whispers, they care about evidence. At 4:12 a.m., I emailed the document to a family law attorney whose billboard I used to roll my eyes at. Need the truth? We find it. Guy looked like a joke. Suddenly, he felt like the only lifeline I trusted. I ended the email with one line. Let me know if this is enough to begin disestablishment proceedings. I hit send. Then I shut the laptop, lay back on the hotel mattress, and stared at the water stain on the ceiling above the smoke detector. No tears, not because I wasn't breaking, but because I refused to shatter in a room no one else would ever see. Monica would wake up in a few hours. She'd find the note. She'd assume it was a dramatic gesture, maybe even think it was the start of some negotiation. She'd call, leave voicemails, maybe even cry. But I wouldn't answer, not because I was gone, but because I had finally arrived at the one place I'd avoided for years. Clarity, and clarity doesn't beg, it prepares. I didn't reach out to him. He texted me. 3 hours after I left the house, Monica's younger brother, Eli, sent a message. I heard you left. You okay? I stared at it for a long time. Eli had always been different, the youngest in her family, bit of a black sheep. He worked freelance sound design for indie horror films and lived in a converted trailer that smelled like cedar and weed, but he was also the only one in her orbit who ever asked questions without layering them in judgment. I replied, "Coffee?" He sent an address, not one I knew, 2 towns over, middle of nowhere. Looked it up, someplace called Bean Revival, tucked behind an abandoned church with cracked stained glass. Fitting. We met the next afternoon. He was already there, headphones around his neck, tapping a spoon against a chipped ceramic mug. His hair was longer than the last time I saw him, eyes tired but sharp. He didn't hug me, just nodded. I sat down. Neither of us spoke for the first minute. We sipped. He looked out the window. Then he sighed. You heard about Marshall, didn't you? He didn't even ask it like a question, just a fact checking itself aloud. I didn't respond. He nodded, like that was enough. We all figured it ended years ago, he said. Guess not. I stayed still, neutral. He sipped again. I walked in on them once, like fully walked in. That was before you guys got engaged. I told her to cut it out, said she was playing with fire. She said Marshall understood her better than anyone, that you were safe. Safe, like a seatbelt, like a contingency plan. He chuckled bitterly. Sorry, not really my place. I figured she grew out of it when you guys started the whole IVF thing. I stared at him. You didn't think to mention any of this before the wedding? He looked down. I tried. I hinted. My mom shut it down. Said, let Monica live her life, Eli. She's stable now. Don't stir things up. Stable. That word again. Like I was a retirement plan in khakis. He rubbed his face. Look, man, I don't know what's happening right now. But if you're here, it's probably bad. And if it's about the kid, I'm sorry. Really. I finished my coffee. He reached into his jacket and slid a flash drive across the table. I don't know if it helps, he said, but there's some old stuff on here, from when we were all in that group chat, back when she was seeing both of you. You might want to look at the timestamps. I took it, pocketed it. We left without shaking hands. Back in the hotel that night, I opened the drive. Photos, screenshots, messages with nicknames. One folder titled, For the Cabin, dated just 3 weeks before we conceived. Inside a packing list, wine, condoms, Bluetooth speaker, her playlist. I added it to the folder, labeled it Pre-Conception Non-Marital Contact. This wasn't betrayal anymore. This was documentation. I took out the test results, stapled them to the printed messages. Then I added a short note to my attorney, additional materials from third-party source. Family aware of prior relationship. Will explain more at meeting. No rage, no panic, just footnotes in a growing case file. They say hell is other people. I think it's realizing you were the only one in the room playing by the rules. Even her family knew and said nothing, so I started treating them the same way they'd treated me, as irrelevant. She waited until I was alone. Somehow, Monica figured out where I'd been working remotely, small satellite office for the design firm, tucked behind a warehouse complex. Nothing public, nothing she should have known, but she showed up anyway, red-eyed and shaking, like someone who had finally realized the ground wasn't beneath her anymore. I was in the break room, pouring stale coffee, when I heard the door creak. She stood there, hair knotted, mascara like war paint, baby spit up on her sleeve, as if dressing like a tragedy would slow me down. Stephen, she said, voice cracking like it had been rehearsed too many times and worn thin. I took a sip, didn't blink. You're not supposed to be here. She stepped in, lowered her voice. I just want to talk. Please, just for a second. I haven't slept. I don't even know what's happening right now. You left. You didn't answer. I'm scared. I let the silence settle. Then she started to cry. The real kind. Raw. Uneven. The kind that makes bystanders feel uncomfortable. But there were no bystanders. Just her and me. It was a mistake, she whispered. It was one mistake. A stupid, emotional moment that meant nothing. You're his father. You're his real father. Don't do this. Please. I set my cup down, then looked her straight in the eye. Which night? I asked. The business trip in March or the one in June? Her lips parted. Her body tilted slightly backward. I didn't wait. I checked your calendar. Your location data was off in both. You told me you were at the regional conference in Raleigh in March, but the corporate card pinged at a wine bar in Asheville with a two-person dinner charge. In June, you said you were staying with a coworker for safety, but you booked a double at the Windsor. I called the front desk. They confirmed, no roommate, just you and a man who paid cash and used a rewards number tied to an email with the name M. Coleman. Her face strained. You kept calling it just one mistake, I said. I just need to know which one of the 24 you meant. She stumbled forward, grasping the back of a chair, like if she could just perform enough grief, I'd forget the math. You don't understand. Marshall was... It wasn't about love. It wasn't about anything. He made me feel seen, but it didn't mean I didn't love you. Seen, I repeated. That's what you wanted? Attention? She nodded, sobbing harder. You were always so calm, so careful. You never got jealous, never got angry. I thought maybe you didn't care. So you cheated because I didn't fight with you? She looked at me, eyes wide, wounded, like that logic somehow made sense, like calm was a crime, like not smashing plates meant I deserved to be gutted behind my back. And now? I asked. She wiped her nose. Now I see what I risked. I see what I destroyed. Just give me a chance to fix it. We can go to counseling. I'm already in counseling, I said. Solo. My therapist suggested I start calling you by your name again instead of just labeling you the event. That one landed. She collapsed into the chair. I reached into my folder, pulled out a single sheet, the visitation notice she'd been served through her lawyer. Standard, clean, no dramatic clauses, just legal acknowledgement that I was stepping away. I'm not here to scream, I said. I'm here to close. She tried again. Soft, desperate. But what about the baby? He needs you. I looked at her, then looked through her. You should have thought of that before you gambled with biology. I walked out of the room. She didn't follow. The next time she'd try to speak to me, it wouldn't be in private. It would be under oath. I needed to see him, not out of rage, not to fight, not to confront. I didn't care if he knew my name. I didn't even care if he knew he had a kid. That wasn't the point. I just needed to understand what she thought was worth detonating our life for. Marshal Coleman worked at a boutique marketing firm across town. Sleek logo, curated Instagram feed, team photos that looked like they belonged in a startup documentary. The kind of place that served cocktails at 4 p.m. on Fridays and thought grind was a personality trait. I didn't go in. I stood across the street, coffee in hand, leaning against a newspaper box, watched through their glass walls as the team laughed about something on a shared screen. There he was, corner office, leaned back in his chair, button down rolled up to his elbows, tossing a baseball in one hand while spinning his phone with the other. Marshall. He didn't look like a homewrecker. He looked like someone who'd never paid consequences in his life. Movie star smile. Stubble trimmed, just so. The kind of a guy Monica always claimed annoyed her. Too slick, too performative. Now I realized those rants were just rehearsals for guilt. I watched as he got up, walked through the office with that practiced looseness of someone who expected rooms to bend around him. People clapped his back. A junior employee, barely 23, laughed too hard at whatever joke he made. He was a show, and Monica loved shows. I didn't need to get closer, didn't need a confrontation. I was already building the final piece of the timeline, and this was just confirming the shape of it. But fate handed me more. As I turned to leave, someone called my name. Stephen? It took me a second to place her. Tasha. We'd met once, years ago, at Monica's old job when I picked her up after a happy hour. Tasha was loud, honest, impossible to ignore. She recognized me instantly. Wow, you look like you just saw a ghost, she said, pulling off her sunglasses. I forced a polite smile. Just killing time. She glanced across the street, followed my gaze. Oh, him. There was a tone in her voice. Familiar. Dry. You know him? I asked. Marshall? Everyone knows Marshall. Half of the women at that office have a story about him. Hell, Monica used to joke about how he ruined her for anyone else. I said nothing, just watched. Tasha frowned. Wait, is this about... She trailed off, then lowered her voice. Look, I never got involved, but between you and me, that thing between them didn't end when she married you. It just got quiet. They had this on and off rhythm. Disgusting, really. She used to sneak calls during breaks, told me you were safe, like some kind of background character. I stared at the sidewalk. Sorry, Tasha added quickly. I didn't mean to. No, I said, don't apologize. I thanked her. We said goodbye. She walked off. I didn't. I stood there another 20 minutes just watching him move, laughing, flirting, running his hands through his perfect hair, while he got credit for spontaneous ideas that probably came from someone else. I didn't hate him. You don't hate snakes for biting, you hate yourself for petting them. Later that night, I updated the timeline in my digital folder, inserted a new section, cross-referenced affair duration with wedding planning, confirmed ongoing sexual and emotional relationship during engagement and early IVF phase, multiple third-party affirmations. Then I added one line in bold. This was not an accident. This was sustained preference. It didn't make the betrayal worse. It made it make sense. And she hadn't slipped. She'd chosen repeatedly. She gambled. I'd never question it because quiet men don't dig. But I wasn't digging anymore. I was excavating the truth systematically, professionally. And when I was done, there'd be nothing left of the lies but paperwork and ash. She thought I was bluffing, even after the silence, after the note, after the confrontation at work, after the coffee shop meeting with her brother, after every sign that I was peeling away from her like skin from heat. She still believed I'd fold because that's what she'd always counted on. I wasn't emotional. And people like Monica mistake reliability for weakness, for permanence, for stupidity even. But permanence isn't the same as submission, and reliability can turn surgical with enough motive. I filed the paperwork 3 days after speaking with Tasha. Disestablishment of paternity, a rarely used mechanism. Messy, controversial, but not impossible, especially when supported by irrefutable lab evidence, written timelines, and testimony from a source like Eli, her own blood, who had offered to submit a written account after seeing the depth of my file. I didn't tell Monica. I didn't warn her. She found out when her lawyer called in the middle of her Mommy and Me support group and asked to confirm her address for delivery of official documents. Certified envelope. Signature required. The text came shortly after. Stephen, what the hell is this? Then this isn't how people handle marriage. This isn't love, it's revenge. That one made me laugh out loud. She had the vocabulary for deception, but not for consequences. The petition was clean. Legal language with surgical intent. Grounds. Fraud. Misrepresentation. Emotional duress. Psychological harm. Deceit regarding biological parentage. Attachments. The paternity test. The timeline of events. Receipts, communications, the affidavit signed by me and co-signed by my legal representative stating I sought full legal severance, not just emotionally, not just physically, but financially and biologically. It stunned her, I know that, because she didn't call. She showed up at my lawyer's office unannounced, demanding to speak to the man behind this insanity. They didn't let her pass the glass. Instead, they handed her a courtesy copy of a clause she hadn't seen yet. Section 5. Voluntary relinquishment of parental duty and responsibility. A clause she never imagined I'd invoke. The kind of clause that strips the entire charade clean. That says, legally and permanently, I am not the father, I am not the guardian, I am not the wallet, the fallback, the plan B. It means I owe her nothing, and I never will again. The next message she sent came through my lawyer's inbox. Her attorney, trying to sound professional but clearly scrambling, asked if we'd be open to mediation, suggested that perhaps emotions were clouding reason, and that ongoing child support arrangements may still be structured in a respectful manner in service of the child's well-being. My lawyer replied with one sentence, my client is not emotionally compromised, he is legally accurate. A second letter was drafted and sent directly to Monica per protocol, clarifying my position. The letter closed with, "This decision is not reactive, it is restorative. The child in question is not of my blood nor my trust. This is not abandonment, this is clarity." She posted a photo the next day, her holding the baby, tears in her eyes, a quote about being both mother and father when you have to. The caption was bait, sympathy bait, playing to her curated audience, the kind of people who eat heartbreak like candy and never ask what caused it. But behind the scenes, she was unraveling. Mutual friends texted awkwardly. Her sister called my sister. Her job, where she'd returned part-time, pulled her into HR. I didn't need to do anything. The consequences were doing the work for me. This wasn't revenge. It was subtraction. Surgical. Precise. Remove the lie. Remove the liability. Remove the name from the birth certificate. And for the first time in this whole saga, I slept without checking my phone once. Not because I didn't expect her to call, because I no longer cared if she did. It started slow. At first, she must have thought the silence was just people not wanting to take sides. That's the delusion most people cling to when they're cornered, believing neutrality is loyalty in disguise, but silence is just judgment with the volume down. The first to go quiet was her best friend from college, Trina, the one who was her maid of honor. Monica had leaned on her for everything during the pregnancy, from nursery design to pushing me to agree to that ridiculous maternity photo shoot in the woods. But now, Trina wasn't replying to her stories, hadn't liked a single post since the legal documents went public in the system. Then came the group chat exit. Monica had created it during her third trimester, the Bump Squad, filled with other first-time moms. She loved curating it, offering unsolicited advice about swaddling, nipple balm, postpartum yoga. One by one, the members left. No dramatic exit, just vanished. Her mom called me 3 times in one morning. I didn't answer. She finally left a voicemail. "Stephen, whatever happened? Please, please don't punish her like this. The baby, he still needs—" She caught herself before saying "you." She hung up without finishing. At her job, things turned colder than she expected. On paper, she was on wellness leave, an ambiguous HR label that meant they weren't firing her, just pulling her off active duty. In reality, they were distancing themselves. Word had spread. Someone had seen the court records. Disestablishment petitions, especially ones with strong fraud claims, get talked about quietly, but they get talked about. Her boss, the same man who'd given a speech at our wedding about how lucky Monica is to have a partner like Stephen, stopped answering her emails. The coworkers who once threw her a baby shower with pastel cupcakes and a diaper cake started the scheduling lunches without her. A mutual friend sent me a screenshot from an Instagram group DM she wasn't in anymore. Monica had written something defensive, something about being abandoned by a man who couldn't handle real emotions. Someone had replied, "You mean the man you lied to for over a year?" She left the group 5 minutes later. At my nephew's birthday party, an event she used to help plan, the table was full. Laughter, gifts, cupcakes. My family was there, my sister, my cousins, even Eli, who had quietly crossed the loyalty line without ever saying it aloud. Monica wasn't invited. She sent a message that morning, something carefully phrased. "If I drop by for just an hour, would that be okay?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Later, during the party, one of the older relatives, my Aunt Teresa, blunt and steel-spined, was helping clean up wrapping paper when she muttered, "She gambled the wrong man." No one corrected her, because it was true. She'd bet everything on me being the kind of guy who forgives, the kind who sticks around, the kind who can be manipulated with a sad face and a swaddle. She forgot that quiet doesn't mean weak, it means patient. And patience, when sharpened, becomes precision. She still posted pictures, still tried to build a narrative. "Just us two," she captioned one, her holding the baby, chin down, black and white filter, faux melancholy dripping off every pixel. But the likes were down. The comments, once full of emojis and "you got this, mama," were now just bots in silence. What Monica hadn't anticipated was that betrayal carries a scent. And once people catch wind of it, they start calculating their proximity. They start wondering if they're next, so they back away, not because they care about me, but because she made loyalty look stupid. And now, stripped of the applause, the filtered admiration, the curated image of new motherhood, she had nothing left but a truth she never wanted to hold. She didn't lose me. She discarded me. And no one wants to befriend the woman who throws away stability like it's replaceable. It was a Sunday. Warm enough that the windows were cracked at my sister's place, the smell of cinnamon rolls floating through the house, her kids chasing each other barefoot across the porch, while my brother-in-law grilled something he was probably overcooking. I was sitting at the kitchen table, skimming through a weekend paper I didn't care about, when my sister stiffened. She was looking out the window, mouth half open, eyes unreadable. I turned, Monica, on the front lawn, holding the baby. I stood without a word. She wasn't dressed for drama, just jeans and a sweatshirt, no makeup, hair pulled into something halfway between a bun and surrender. The baby was heavier now, more aware. He blinked around, curious but calm, his head resting against her shoulder. She didn't ring the bell, just stood there until I opened the door. She didn't look up right away. When she did, it wasn't the defiance I expected, or the panic, or even anger. It was something worse, desperation wrapped in delusion. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I swear, I know I can't undo anything. I know what I did, but she shifted her weight, adjusted the baby in her arms. "He still needs a father." I didn't say anything, not yet. Her eyes welled, but she fought it. "I'm not asking you to come back. I know that ship's gone. I know I ruined it, but I've been watching him grow, and Stephen, he deserves someone steady, someone who doesn't disappear." I almost laughed at that, almost. But I didn't. I just stepped inside and came back with the envelope I've been carrying in my coat for weeks. It wasn't thick, no drama, just a few pages, perfectly typed, officially stamped. I handed it to her. She stared at it like it might burn her fingers. Inside, a notarized statement confirming the full severance of parental rights and responsibilities. Finalized. Legal. Irrevocable. She opened it slowly, scanned the signature, read the line that mattered most. Stephen N. Hereby acknowledges the legal disestablishment of paternity and terminates all custodial, financial, and emotional obligations present and future, effective immediately and in perpetuity. Her knees buckled a little, but she didn't fall. She just looked up, eyes trembling. "But what about what's right?" I looked at the child, then at her. "He has a father," I said quietly, "but I'm not him." Her lips parted, maybe to beg, maybe to scream, maybe to say the line she'd been practicing in the mirror for days. I closed the door before she could find it. Behind me, my sister said nothing, just handed me coffee. Strong, no sugar, like I like it. Outside, Monica stood on the porch for another full minute. Then she turned and left. She never knocked again. The package arrived on a Tuesday. No return address, no sender name, just her name, Monica Green. Written in handwriting she recognized instantly. Neat, deliberate, controlled, his. She held it for a long time before opening it. There'd been nothing for months. No messages, no updates, no noise, just a silent, widening distance that didn't scream revenge. It hummed erasure. She opened it at the kitchen counter, the baby asleep in the other room. She hadn't told anyone it arrived. She wanted to see what he'd sent before deciding how to frame it. Inside, a hardbound photo album. Matte, black cover. No title. But when she flipped to the first page, she saw the words embossed into the inside cover. What could have been? The first photo was of Stephen, alone, on a high cliff overlooking a vast valley, hiking boots, sunglasses, wind was in his hair. He looked free, not dramatic, not broken, just steady. The next page, a fire pit at night, a group of people, new faces surrounding him, laughing. One woman in particular sat close, dark curly hair, head tilted toward him like she already knew his rhythm. The third, Stephen at a beach BBQ, holding a drink, laughing with a group of men. His arm slung casually around someone, maybe the same woman from before. She wore no ring, but neither did he. Next page, a cozy bookstore cafe, him and the woman again. This time, she was reading something to a toddler sitting between them. Then another, and another. Snapshots of a life she was no longer a ghost in. Then the final page. Stephen, kneeling on a dock at sunset, cradling a baby, not her baby, Not their baby, a different one, different eyes, different cheeks, but the same tenderness in his hands, same warmth in his expression. Below, one caption: not all families are born, some are built. From truth. She didn't cry, not because it didn't hurt, but because this wasn't a wound. It was a gravestone. He hadn't destroyed her. He'd just rewritten the story without her in it, and made sure she could still read it.